Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Bible in a Year. My name is Natalie, and today we are on day 269. Welcome to the channel. I'm so happy that you're here today. We are going to be reading out of 1 Kings chapter 7, Ezekiel chapter 24, and then we're going to be finishing the book of Mark today by reading Mark chapter 16, and then we're going to close out the day with Psalm 136, but only verses 10 through 15. So let's move in to 1 Kings chapter 7. Solomon was building his own house 13 years, and he finished all his house. For he built the house of the forest of Lebanon. Its length was 100 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits, on 4 rows of cedar pillars, with cedar beams on the pillars. It was covered with cedar above over the 45 beams that were on the pillars, 15 in a row. There were beams in 3 rows, and window was facing window in 3 ranks. All the doors and posts were made square with beams, and window was facing window in 3 ranks. He made the hall of pillars. Its length was 50 cubits, and its width 30 cubits, with a porch before them, and pillars and the threshold before them. He made the porch of the throne where he was to judge, even the porch of judgment, and it was covered with cedar from floor to floor. His house where he was to dwell, the other court within the porch, was of the same construction. He made also a house for Pharaoh's daughter, whom Solomon had taken as wife, like this porch. All these were of costly stones, even the stone cut according to measure, sawed with saws, inside and outside, even from the foundation to the coping, and so on the outside to the great court. The foundation was of costly stones, even great stones, stones of 10 cubits and stones of 8 cubits. Above were costly stones, even cut stone according to measure, and cedar wood. The great court around had 3 courses of cut stone, with a course of cedar beams, like the inner court of Yahweh's house, and the porch of the house. King Solomon sent and brought Hiram out of Tyre. He was the son of a widow of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in bronze, and he was filled with wisdom and understanding, and skilled to work all works in bronze. He came to King Solomon and performed all his work. For he fashioned the 2 pillars of bronze, 18 cubits high apiece, and a line of 12 cubits encircled either of them. He made 2 capitals of molten bronze to set on the tops of the pillars. The height of the one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits. There were nets of checker work and wreaths of chain work for the capitals which were on top of the pillars, 7 for the one capital and 7 for the other capital. So he made the pillars, and there were 2 rows of pomegranates around the one network to cover the capitals that were on top of the pillars, and he did so for the other capital. The capitals that were on the top of the pillars in the porch were of lily work, 4 cubits. There were capitals above also on the 2 pillars, close by the belly, which was beside the network. There were 200 pomegranates in rows around the other capital. He set up the pillars at the porch of the temple, and he set up the right pillar and called its name Jachin. And he set up the left pillar and called its name Boaz. On the tops of the pillars was lily work. So the work of the pillars was finished. He made the molten sea 10 cubits from brim to brim, round in shape. Its height was 5 cubits, and a line of 30 cubits encircled it. Under its brim, around, there were buds which encircled it for 10 cubits, encircling the sea. The buds were in 2 rows, cast when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 looking toward the north, and 3 looking toward the west, and 3 looking toward the south, and 3 looking toward the east. And the sea was set on them above, and all their headquarters were inward. All their hindquarters were inward. It was a hand width thick. Its brim was worked like the brim of a cup, like the flower of a lily. It held 2,000 baths. He made the 10 bases of bronze. The length of one base was 4 cubits, 4 cubits its width, and 3 cubits its height. The work of the bases was like this. They had panels, and there were panels between the ledges. And on the panels that were between the ledges were lions, oxen, and cherubim. And on the ledges there was a pedestal above, and beneath the lions and oxen were wreaths of hanging work. Each base had 4 bronze wheels and axles of bronze, and its 4 feet had supports. The supports were cast beneath the basin, with wreaths at the side of each. Its opening within the capital and above was a cubit. Its opening was round, like the work of a pedestal, a cubit and a half, and also on its opening were engravings, and their panels were square, not round. The 4 wheels were underneath the panels, and the axles of the wheel were in the base. The height of a wheel was a cubit and a half of a cubit. The work of the wheels was like the work of the chariot wheel. Their axles, their rims, their spokes, and their hubs were all cast metal. There were 4 supports at the 4 corners of each base. Its supports were of the base itself. In the top of the base there was a round band half a cubit high, and on the top of the base its supports and its panels were the same. On the plates of its supports and on its panels he engraved cherubim, lions, and palm trees, each in its space, with wreaths all around. He made the 10 bases in this way. All of them had 1 casting, 1 measure, and 1 form. He made 10 bases of bronze. Verse 38. He made 10 basins of bronze. And now I've lost my place. There we go. 1 basin contained 40 baths. Every basin measured 4 cubits. 1 basin was on every one of the 10 bases. He set the bases, 5 on the right side of the house and 5 on the left side of the house. And he set the sea on the right side of the house, eastward and toward the south. Hiram made the pots, the shovels, and the basins. So Hiram finished doing all the work that he worked for King Solomon in Yahweh's house, the 2 pillars, the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the top of the pillars, the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowls of the captains that were on the top of the pillars, the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network, to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the pillars, the 10 bases, the 10 basins on the bases, the 1 sea, the 12 oxen under the sea, the pots, the shovels, and the basins. All of these vessels which Hiram made for King Solomon in Yahweh's house were of burnished bronze. The king cast them in the plain of the Jordan, in the clay ground between Succoth and Zarethan. Solomon left all the vessels unweighed because there was so many of them. The weight of the bronze could not be determined. Solomon made all the vessels that were in Yahweh's house. The golden altar and the table and the showbread was of gold. And the lampstands, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left, in front of the inner sanctuary, of pure gold. And the flowers, the lamps, and the tongs of gold. The cups, the snuffers, the basins, the spoons, and the fire pans of pure gold. And the hinges, both for the doors of the inner house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the house of the temple of gold. Thus, all the work that King Solomon did in Yahweh's house was finished. Solomon brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, the silver, the gold, and the vessels, and he put them in the treasuries of Yahweh's house. So I know that was a little long, but man, if we just take the time to recognize the detail, and this is not in 2023 when we have our embossing and, our machines doing all the work for us. This was by hands. Oh, absolutely amazing and beautiful. All right, folks, here we go. Moving into Ezekiel chapter 24. Here we go. Again, in the 9th year, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, Yahweh's word came to me, saying, Son of man, write the name of the day, this same day. The king of Babylon drew close to Jerusalem this same day. Utter a parable to the rebellious house and tell them, the Lord Yahweh says, Put the cauldron on the fire, put it on, and also pour water into it. Gather its pieces into it, even every good piece, the thigh and the shoulder. Fill it with the choice bones. Take the choice of the flock, and also a pile of wood for the bones under the cauldron. Make it boil well. Yes, let its bone be boiled within it. Therefore the Lord Yahweh says, Woe to the bloody city, to the cauldron whose rust is in it, and whose rust hasn't gone out of it. Take out of it piece after piece, without casting lots for it. For the blood she shed in the middle of her, she set it on the bare rock. She didn't pour it on the ground to cover it with dust, that it may cause wrath to come up to take vengeance. I have set her blood on the bare rock, that it should not be covered. Therefore the Lord Yahweh says, Woe to the bloody city! I also will make the pile great. Heap on the wood, make the fire hot, boil the meat well, make the broth thick, and let the bones be burned. Then set it empty on its coals, that it may be hot, and its bronze may burn, and that its filthiness may be molten in it, that its rust may be consumed. She is weary with toil, yet her great rust by fire doesn't leave her. In your filthiness is lewdness, because I have cleansed you, and you weren't cleansed. You won't be cleansed from your filthiness anymore until I have caused my wrath towards you to rest. I, Yahweh, have spoken it. It will happen, and I will do it. I won't go back. I won't spare. I won't repent. According to your ways and according to your doings, they will judge you, says the Lord Yahweh. Also, Yahweh's word came to me, saying, Son of man, Behold, I will take away from you the desire of your eyes with one stroke. Yet you shall neither mourn nor weep, neither shall your tears run down. Sigh, but not loud. Make no mourning for the dead. Bind your headdress on you and put your sandals on your feet. Don't cover your lips and don't eat mourner's bread. So I spoke to the people in the morning, and at evening my wife died. So I did in the morning as I was commanded. The people asked me, "Won't you tell us what these things mean to us, that you act like this?" And then I said to them, "Yahweh's word came to me, saying, 'Speak to the house of Israel. The Lord Yahweh says, Behold, I will profane my sanctuary, the pride of your power and desire of your eyes, and that which your soul pities, and your sons and your daughters whom you have left behind will fall by the sword. You will do as I have done. You won't cover your lips or eat mourner's bread. Your turbans will be on your heads and your sandals on your feet. You won't mourn or weep, but you will pine away in your iniquities and moan one toward another. Thus Ezekiel will be assigned to you. According to all that he has done, you will do. When this comes, then you will know that I am the Lord Yahweh. You son of man, shouldn't it be in the day when I take from them their strength, the joy of their glory, the desire of their eyes, and that whereupon they set their heart, their sons and their daughters, that in that day he who escapes will come to you, because you to hear it with your ears. I'm going to start again at verse 26. That in that day he who escapes will come to you, to cause you to hear it with your ears. In that day your mouth will be open to him who has escaped, and you will speak and be no more mute. So you will be assigned to them. Then they will know that I am Yahweh. Oh, yay, 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 yay. Okay, guys, let's finish up Mark 16. Here we go. When the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome brought spices that they might come and anoint him. Very early on the first day of the week, they came to the tomb when the sun had risen. They were saying among themselves, "Who will roll away the stone from the door of the tomb for us?" For it was very big. Looking up, they saw that the stone was already rolled back. Entering into the tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, dressed in a white robe, and they were amazed. And he said to them, "Don't be amazed. You seek Jesus, the Nazarene, who has been crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him. But go, tell his disciples and Peter, he goes before you into Galilee, and there you will see him, as he said to you." They went out, and they fled from the tomb, for trembling and astonishment had come on them. They said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. Now when he had risen early on the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, from whom he had cast out 7 demons. She went and told those who had been with him, as they mourned and wept. When they heard that he was alive and had been seen by her, they disbelieved. After these things, he was revealed in another form to 2 of them as they walked on their way into the country. They went away and told it to the rest, and they didn't believe them either. Afterward, he was revealed to the 11 themselves as they sat at the table, and he rebuked them for their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they didn't believe those who had seen him after he had risen. And he said to them, "Go into the world and preach the good news to the whole creation. He who believes and is baptized will be saved, but he who disbelieves will be condemned. These signs accompany those who believe. In my name they will cast out demons, and they will speak with new languages. They will take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it will in no way hurt them. They will lay hands on the sick, and they will recover." So then the Lord, after he had spoken to them, was received up into heaven and sat down at the right hand of God. They went out and preached everywhere, the Lord working with them and confirming the words by the signs that followed. Amen. Oh, wow. All right, so that finishes up Mark. Go into all the world and preach the good news to the whole creation. He didn't say, go into the world and tell everybody they're going to hell if they don't follow me. He didn't say, go into the world and judge people and gossip about them and talk shamefully against them because they don't follow me. It's not our business and it's not our job. What is our job? Our job is to go into all the world and preach the good news to the whole creation. To preach the good news. Preach the good news. Psalm 136, verses 10 through 15. Is that right? There it is. To him who struck down the Egyptian firstborn, for his loving kindness endures forever, and brought out Israel from among them, for his loving kindness endures forever, with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm, for his loving kindness endures forever. To him who divided the Red Sea apart, for his loving kindness endures forever, and made Israel to pass through the middle of it, for his loving kindness endures forever. But overthrew Pharaoh and his army in the Red Sea, for his loving kindness endures forever. Give thanks to Yahweh, for he is good. Give thanks. Whoa, this was a wonderful day today. I am so happy that you stopped by. You want to know what we're going to start in with tomorrow? Since we finished up Mark. Ooh, folks, we're going to be starting in Hebrews. I do know that I have a couple subscribers that really, really, really love Hebrews. So this is your few weeks. How long are we going to be in it? Where'd it go? Hebrews will be until October 9th will be our last day. So we'll be in it for a couple weeks. So come on back for that. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have the most fantastic day. Just remember the words of Mark. Jesus is our new covenant. Just go tell everybody you know. Don't worry about what they've done and even what they're doing. Just tell them who He is and let them decide what they're going to do about that good news. All right? So I'll see you tomorrow for day 270. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you then. Bye.